So I am starting a podcast called True Colors, and it will basically be a podcast about everything that I have gone through and my coming out story and just lots of tidbits about my life. And then I will be interviewing a bunch of amazing people about their lives and their coming out stories and how they live in this little world of being gay. So the first person that I came out to was my very amazing friend Daniel. Shout out to Daniel because I love you so much. We're still friends, but just not as close as we used to be, which is kind of sad, but I miss you, Daniel. Anyways, I thank God every day for the people that have been in my life and the people who accepted me for who I am and just everything. Shout out to Daniel because you're amazing, and he's gay, and so I felt very comfortable coming out to him, and I had just the best experience when I did, and we just kind of had a very great talk about it, and he gave me a little candy bracelet that was a rainbow that I still have to this day. Aww. And I'm just very grateful. And I came out to my parents when I was about 20, and the first person I came out to was my dad because he was the person that I was more nervous about. I guess I was nervous about coming out to my mom, but it wasn't as nerve-wracking, I guess I would say. So I was in this very room when I came out to my dad, and I kind of just called him in here, and I was like, I'm gay. And I only like women. And he was just kind of what the heck? But also he was very accepting, which I am just amazingly grateful for, because I know that's not it can be the same with everybody else, and lots of people are shunned by their families, or they don't even speak to their families because they don't accept who they are. And I just thank my parents from the bottom of my heart for always accepting me as who I truly am. And I didn't come out for so long because I was nervous of what they would think about me. I grew up in a very Christian home, and I was nervous about everything, but more so I was nervous about my inner critic and just me judging my own self. And for so long I hid that part of me until I couldn't anymore. And then he just said that he was very nervous about how the world was going to treat me, and he didn't judge me, and I thought that was just amazing. And my mom felt the same way, and I really appreciate them. So from then on, I met a girl and I started dating them. We did the whole U-Haul thing. I moved in within a month of meeting her. Bad choice on my part, but it's okay. It kind of shaped who I am today. And yeah, I feel it's really crazy to think how far I've come in such a short amount of time. Now I'm 27, and I have dabbled with my sexuality since then, but now I identify as a lesbian and I only like women. So I know that can always change. Everybody is always changing, but that's how I feel, and I love women. And I'm very proud to say that now, which I wasn't my whole life, and it's a very crazy revelation for me. And I know that people still judge, and people are still very judgmental of the LGBTQ community, and it's really hard for us. And I think that this is an amazing way to show people that it's okay to be who you are, and it's okay to live this life that you are unapologetic of everything. I don't care what people think anymore. And for so long I cared so much about what every single person around me thought, and that's why I stayed in the closet for so long. I grew up very tomboyish, and I always had this feeling of maybe I do like women, but it was deep down inside of me. And finally it just kept coming up, and I was dude, I just have to be true to who I am. And I finally was, and it was just a weight lifted off my shoulders. I was finally able to be who I am, and it was just an amazing feeling. And when I was in 4th grade, I went through a really hard time because my best friend at the time, we had a sleepover, and basically we were doing stuff with each other, and she woke up the next day and said that she didn't agree to anything that was happening that night, and she was going to tell her mom, and that I did it without her permission, and that all this stuff. And I was you're kidding, right? Because it was very consensual, and it was just so scary to me that I would never do that to somebody. And it was just so scary. And I think since that day in 4th grade, I kind of just hid that part of me deep down inside of me, because I was like, I guess this is wrong, you know? And growing up going to church all the time, I also thought it was wrong, but I still did what was in my heart at the time. And I never really liked boys growing up. I felt very different my entire life. And everybody was getting crushes on boys, especially I remember in 4th grade. And I was like, I just felt like different. I was like, I don't have crushes on anybody, but I did have a crush on my best friend. And yeah. So going through that definitely was an issue for me, and it kind of like made me hide my feelings for so long. And then once I got older, I was like, you know what, like, I wasn't wrong for being with a girl when I was younger, and no matter what somebody made me feel, that's not what happened, and I needed to stay true to myself. And now I am where I am today, and I'm very proud of who I am, and no matter what anybody says or thinks, I am just a happy girl. And I just want to thank everybody who has supported me along the way, and I can't wait for you guys to hear everybody's stories. And there's so much more to it, which I will unfold later and tell more stories about myself, but this is just a good start, and I love who I am, and I'm so excited to share other people's stories about loving who they are. And you should never be afraid to be who you are. You should never be afraid of people's opinions. Be who the frick you are every day, and you'll be so much happier. I feel like I'm finally living my truth for the past 7 years, and it's been amazing. And it's been kind of a roller coaster, but I'm happier than I have ever been, and I'm true to myself in most ways that I couldn't have been when I was younger, and I'm not scared of judgment of anybody anymore, and I think that's amazing. And I hope you guys enjoyed this podcast. I'm so excited for you guys to hear the rest and to hear more stories and everything from it. Love you guys.